There are moments in life when pain feels like the only thing that's real. You wake up, and it's there. You go to bed, and it's still there. You smile in public, but deep inside you're breaking. You've cried prayers that never seemed to be answered. You've carried burdens that no one else could see. And you've wondered, God, if you love me, why does it hurt this much? But I want to tell you something today, something that heaven has not forgotten to speak over your life. God's plan is bigger than your pain. Your pain may last for a season, but God's purpose is eternal. When life falls apart, we tend to focus on what we lost, but God focuses on what He's building. He never wastes a wound. He never ignores a tear. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment of confusion, God is shaping something greater. You see, pain doesn't mean God has left you. Sometimes it means He's working deeper than you can see. The Israelites thought Egypt was all they would ever know. 400 years of slavery, generations crying out for deliverance. But when it looked like God was silent, He was preparing Moses. When it looked like hope was gone, He was setting the stage for freedom. You may not see it now, but somewhere behind the curtain, God is writing a story that your pain can't erase. A story of redemption, a story of restoration, a story where His plan triumphs over your suffering. Let me tell you this, the same God who brought light out of darkness, who brought Jesus out of the tomb, can bring beauty out of your brokenness. Yes, it hurts now. Yes, you don't understand it. But God's plan doesn't stop where your pain begins. In fact, sometimes that's where it truly starts. There was a time in my own journey when I thought the pain would define me forever. But I've learned that pain is not a full stop, it's a comma in God's sentence. You may feel broken, but you are not finished. God is not done writing your story, and the chapter you're crying through today may be the same chapter that inspires thousands tomorrow. I know some of you listening tonight are walking through the valley through loss, betrayal, sickness, confusion. You feel forgotten. But friend, listen closely. God has not abandoned you. He's the shepherd who walks beside you. He's the healer who binds your wounds. He's the Father who still calls you His own. Don't mistake the silence of God for the absence of God. In the silence, He is still working. In the pain, He is still planning. In the storm, He is still in control. Every great story in the Bible carried pain before promise. Joseph was betrayed before he was blessed. David was hunted before he was crowned. Job lost everything before he saw double. Even Jesus went to the cross before the crown. So if you're in a painful season right now, you might just be standing on the edge of a miracle. Because where pain grows deepest, God's plan shines brightest. When God allows pain, He's not punishing you, He's preparing you. He's teaching you to trust beyond what you can see. He's building strength, compassion, humility, the kind of faith that cannot be shaken. So instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What now, Lord?" Instead of saying, "I can't go on," say, "God, carry me through." Because when you shift your focus from pain to purpose, your heart begins to heal. Every tear you've cried has a meaning. Every night you've prayed has been heard. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize it all made sense. You'll see that the pain you thought was breaking you was actually shaping you, that the delays were not denials, they were divine redirections. You'll see that God's plan wasn't to hurt you, it was to help you grow. Pain is temporary, but the purpose of God is eternal. You might not see it today, but God is already ahead of you. He's preparing blessings that your current pain cannot block. There's a reason your story isn't over. There's a reason you're still breathing. There's a reason your heart still beats with hope, because God's plan is still unfolding, and your pain is part of that sacred process. Don't give up now. Don't let the enemy tell you that it's over. Your pain has an expiration date, but God's promises are forever. You may be weeping tonight, but joy is coming in the morning. You may be walking through the fire, but God will bring you out purified, not destroyed. Hold on to faith when everything else falls apart. Hold on to the Word when the world lets you down. Hold on to God's hand because He's leading you somewhere beautiful. One day you'll tell your story, And it won't be about how much you suffered, it'll be about how faithful God was. You'll say, I didn't understand it then, but now I see His plan was bigger than my pain. And in that moment, your heart will be full of gratitude, your soul full of peace, and your testimony will set others free. So tonight, lift your eyes above the pain, look beyond what's broken, because heaven has not forgotten your name. Your pain is real, but so is God's promise and His plan. It's bigger, it's greater, and it's still unfolding in your favor. There are moments in life when pain feels like it has stolen every bit of peace, every ounce of strength, every reason to hope. You wake up in the morning and the weight of it greets you before the sunlight does. You carry it through the day, trying to smile, trying to hold yourself together when everything inside you feels shattered. The nights are the hardest when it's just you and your thoughts, and the silence feels heavier than the pain itself. But I want to tell you something. This pain you're facing right now, it's not the conclusion of your story. It's not the final word. It's not the end of your purpose. It's a passage, a doorway, a transition into something deeper, stronger, and far more beautiful than you can imagine. God never ends a story on defeat when He is the author of it. What looks like a chapter of loss is often the beginning of transformation. What feels like death to your dreams is often the soil where God plants new ones. You see, pain is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to develop you. It is through pain that God teaches us what comfort truly means. It is through brokenness that He shapes character, humility, compassion, and faith. You may not see it now, but your pain has purpose. There is divine strategy behind every tear, and there is meaning in every heartbreak. Sometimes God allows pain to protect you. Sometimes He allows it to redirect you. And sometimes He allows it to perfect you. What we think is a setback is often a setup. What feels like a delay is really divine preparation. You might be wondering why certain doors closed, why certain people walked away, why things didn't go according to your plan, but maybe God was keeping you from what would have destroyed you. Maybe He was saving you for something greater. God's plan is not to leave you in pain, but to lead you through it. Think about the greatest figures of faith in Scripture. None of them walked easy roads. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and forgotten in a prison cell. He could have thought, this is the end, but it wasn't. God was writing a bigger story. Joseph's pain was the path to his purpose. Without the betrayal, there would be no Egypt. Without the prison, there would be no palace. Without the tears, there would be no testimony. And what about David? Before he was king, he was a shepherd boy, often overlooked and underestimated. He faced rejection, fear, and betrayal from those closest to him. But every season of pain was preparing him for his crown. The same sling he used to protect sheep became the weapon that brought down Goliath. The same wilderness that broke him built him. Pain was not the end of his story, it was the preparation for his purpose. Job lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health, yet he never lost his faith. He said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And in the end, God restored him double for everything he lost. What the enemy meant for destruction became the platform for a miracle. You see, pain reveals what comfort hides. When everything is easy, we don't always see our need for God. But in the valley, in the heartbreak, in the struggle, that's where we encounter Him most deeply. That's where we discover His strength is greater than our weakness, His grace is wider than our failures, His love is deeper than our sorrow. There's a refining that happens in the fire of pain that cannot happen anywhere else. You can't learn endurance without trials. You can't learn faith without uncertainty. You can't learn forgiveness without being wounded. And you can't learn the depth of God's love until you've reached the depth of your own need. Pain presses you closer to the heart of God because when everything else is stripped away, He's all you have left, and you realize He's all you ever needed. Maybe right now your heart is crying, God, where are you? Maybe you've prayed for healing that hasn't come, for through that feels delayed, for peace that seems distant. But I want you to know this silence is not absence, delay is not denial. God's timing is perfect, and His plan is precise. The same God who allowed the storm is the one who will speak peace over it. The same God who allowed the pain is the one who will use it to reveal His power in you. When Jesus went to the cross, the world thought it was over. The disciples scattered, hope was buried, and darkness seemed to win. But what they didn't realize was that the cross wasn't the end, it was the doorway. Out of death came life, out of defeat came victory. Out of pain came redemption for all mankind, and the same pattern repeats in your story. The cross always comes before the resurrection. The storm always comes before the calm. The pain always comes before the promise. God never wastes pain. Every tear that has fallen from your eyes has been counted. Every sleepless night, every silent cry, every whispered prayer, God has seen it all, and He is working all things together for your good. He's turning the ashes into beauty, the wounds into wisdom, the sorrow into strength. Don't rush the process. Some of the most beautiful things God creates take time. A diamond doesn't form overnight, it's shaped under pressure. A pearl doesn't appear instantly, it's made through irritation and endurance. And your faith doesn't grow in comfort, it's strengthened in trials. What you're walking through right now may be painful, but it's producing something precious. You might say, but I can't see the purpose. That's okay. You're not supposed to see it yet. Faith means trusting even when you can't trace His hand. Faith means believing that behind the pain, there's a plan far greater than anything you could imagine. You may feel buried, but maybe you're not buried, you're planted. Seeds go into dark soil, hidden, unseen, but soon they break through with new life. Your pain may look like burial, but it's really preparation for resurrection. There will come a day when the pain that once broke you will become the platform that blesses others. You'll tell your story, and someone else will find healing in your words. You'll look back and realize that what you thought would destroy you actually defined you. You'll see how every heartbreak pushed you closer to God, how every delay positioned you for destiny, and how every disappointment was divine redirection. God's plan doesn't remove pain, it redeems it. He doesn't always take you out of the fire, but He always walks with you through it. He doesn't always calm the storm immediately, but He calms you while the storm rages. The goal isn't to live a life free of pain. It's to know that even in pain, God is faithful. And one day, you'll stand on the other side of this season stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. You'll realize that your scars tell a story of survival and grace. The pain that once made you question God will become the very reason you praise Him. Because it was in the pain that you found His presence, in the brokenness that you discovered His beauty, and in the tears that you tasted His truth. So don't give up. Don't let the weight of your pain convince you that God is done with you. You are still in the middle of your story, and the author has already written a victorious ending. The chapter you're crying through today will one day be the chapter others thank God you didn't skip. Hold on, keep walking, keep believing, even when you don't understand, trust that God does. Even when you can't see the path, know that He's guiding your steps. He is not just the God of the mountaintop, He's the God of the valley. And sometimes it's in the valley that you find the most intimate moments with Him. Pain may have entered your story, but it doesn't have the power to write your ending. God does, and He has declared that your future will be filled with peace, purpose, and promise. So lift your head even if it's heavy, wipe your tears even if they keep falling, whisper even if your voice shakes, Lord, I trust You, because when you trust Him in the pain, He transforms it into purpose. Your story isn't over, this is just the middle, the best pages are still to come, and when you get there you'll look back and say, it was painful, but it was necessary, it hurt, but it helped me grow, it broke me, but it also built me. Pain is not the end of your story, it's the doorway to God's greater plan. And on the other side of that doorway is healing, joy, purpose, and a testimony that will shine brighter than the pain ever did. There will come a time in every life when the path turns dark, and we can't see what's ahead. The people who once stood beside us are gone. The prayers we've prayed seem unanswered. The dream we held so tightly slips through our fingers like sand. In those moments, pain feels like a heavy shadow that refuses to move. But what if that pain isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? What if what you call suffering is actually the shaping of your destiny? When you trust God through the pain, something begins to happen deep inside of you, something you cannot see but can feel. He begins to work on the part of you that logic cannot reach. He begins to strengthen the faith that comfort never could have built. Pain introduces us to a part of God we could never know in peace. It's easy to praise God when everything is going right, but it's in the storm where we truly discover who He is. You see, pain has a purpose. Every tear that falls is counted, every sleepless night is known, every broken heart is seen. God is not distant from your pain, He's working through it. He's molding your character, sharpening your faith, and writing a testimony that will one day inspire others. You may not realize it now, but the pain you're walking through is birthing something powerful inside you. There's a sacred strength that only comes from walking through the fire, the kind of strength that says, "I didn't think I could make it, but God brought me through." That strength doesn't come from ease, it comes from endurance. It's the strength of a soul that has wrestled with sorrow and still chooses to believe. It's the strength of a heart that has broken, but not quit. When you trust God in those seasons, you give Him permission to turn your suffering into something holy. The world sees pain as destruction. God sees it as construction. He builds greatness in the quiet places where no one's watching. He turns wounds into wisdom. He transforms heartbreak into hope. There's a reason that some of the strongest people you know carry the deepest scars, because pain refines us. It strips away the things we thought we needed until all that's left is our dependence on Him. And when all you have left is God, you realize He's all you ever needed. Your pain might not make sense right now, but it's not random. God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't waste experiences. The things that broke you are the very things He's going to use to bless you. You might be crying now, but those tears are watering the soil of your future testimony. Think about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. It looked like his pain had no purpose, but in the end, the same pit that was meant to destroy him became the platform that saved a nation. He could look back and say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That's what God does. He flips pain into purpose. When you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see. Pain has a way of blinding us. We ask, "Why me?" But later, when you stand on the other side, healed and whole, you'll realize that the same pain that almost destroyed you actually delivered you. It taught you to pray deeper, to forgive faster, to love stronger, to depend more fully on God. Some of you have cried yourself to sleep, wondering if life will ever be the same, but you don't realize that tear-stained pillow has become an altar. Every tear you've shed is being collected by God, and one day He'll return them as joy, multiplied and overflowing, because He promised that those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Pain teaches you patience. It teaches you to wait on God when everything else says to quit. It teaches you to trust Him when nothing makes sense, and while you're waiting, He's working. While you're hurting, He's healing. While you're breaking, He's building. That's the mystery of God's plan. It's always bigger than what you can see. Sometimes God allows pain to push you toward His purpose. If He didn't close that door, you wouldn't move. If He didn't end that relationship, you'd stay stuck in comfort. If He didn't let that plan fail, you'd never seek His will. Pain pushes you toward your calling. It forces you to rely on something greater than yourself. There's beauty in the breaking. When God breaks something, He never leaves it shattered. He rebuilds it stronger. He remolds it into something more beautiful. That's what He's doing with you. He's not punishing you, He's preparing you. You are being strengthened for something greater than the struggle you're in. And one day, the same thing that caused you pain will become your platform. You'll stand and speak, and others will listen because you've walked the road they're walking. Your story will give them hope. Your tears will give them courage. Your scars will show them that survival is possible, that faith works, that God still heals. That's what it means when your tears become testimony. You won't need to prove God's faithfulness, your life will be the proof. You'll be living evidence that He can bring beauty from ashes, that He can take the worst pain and write the most beautiful story. Every chapter of suffering will make sense in the end. There's a power that comes from trusting God when you can't trace Him. When you say, "Lord, I don't understand this, but I still believe you're good," that's faith at its purest form. It's not faith when everything's clear, it's faith when everything's confusing. When you keep walking through the storm, not because it's easy, but because you know who walks beside you, God's plan will take you through places that pain tried to stop you from reaching. You'll learn that what you lost was never greater than what He had prepared. Sometimes you must go through what you don't understand to reach what He's promised. And I know right now, some of you are in that in-between. You're standing between the pain and the promise. You've heard about God's goodness, but you can't feel it. You've seen others blessed, but you're still waiting. I want to tell you, hold on. Don't give up in the middle. The middle is where miracles are born. The middle is where your faith is proven. God hasn't forgotten you. Even when it feels silent, He's still speaking. Even when it feels still, He's still moving. He's working behind the scenes, arranging everything according to His plan. You're not behind schedule, you're right on time for His purpose. One day, you'll look back and realize that the pain was necessary. You'll see that if it hadn't hurt, it wouldn't have healed you. If it hadn't broken you, it wouldn't have built you. God's plan always requires a little pressure because diamonds don't form in comfort. Your suffering is the soil where your strength is growing. Every trial is training your spirit to stand taller. Every heartbreak is teaching your heart how to love with compassion. Every disappointment is preparing you to appreciate the blessing when it arrives. And when it does, when the storm clears, when the tears dry, when the breakthrough comes, you'll understand why God didn't remove the pain sooner. He was using it to prepare you for the blessing you couldn't handle yet. He was building the faith you'd need to carry the miracle. So don't let your pain make you bitter, let it make you better. Don't let it harden your heart, let it deepen your hope. Don't let it destroy your faith, let it develop it. Because every trial is temporary, but what God does through it lasts forever. The enemy thought your pain would destroy you, but God is turning it into your platform. What was meant to silence, you will become the reason you speak louder. What was meant to break, you will become the reason others believe. There's victory in your vulnerability. There's purpose in your pain. There's strength in your surrender. When you trust God in the hardest season, you're telling Him, "I still believe you are who you say you are." And God honors that kind of faith. He lifts it, He blesses it, He multiplies it. Every story that ends with glory starts with a little bit of pain. Every resurrection requires a cross. Every testimony begins with a test. So if you're being tested right now, it means God is getting ready to release something powerful. Hold on to faith. Hold on to hope. Hold on to the truth that no pain is wasted when it's in God's hands. One day, you'll stand on the mountain you used to pray about, and you'll say, "It was worth it." When you trust God through your pain, He will turn your suffering into strength. Your tears will become testimony. And that doorway of pain you're standing in now, it opens to a greater plan, one filled with peace, purpose, and promise beyond anything you can imagine.